No, it's only South Africa. Terrible things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things. It's horrible things. But that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination.
Being a South African these days feels like playing a game of chess where every move invites a fresh attack. On one flank, Rwanda's recent saber rattling has raised alarms of a potential military confrontation. On the other hand, the United States, under the renewed leadership of President Donald Trump, has launched a diplomatic and economic offensive against the country.
Allow me to begin by congratulating President Putin.
The dual pressures have left South Africa feeling like a nation under siege, caught between regional tensions and global power plays. President Trump's announcement to cut all future US funding to South Africa has already caused tension on the internet. In a fiery post on his Truth social platform, Trump accused South Africa of confiscating land and perpetrating massive human rights violations, particularly against white farmers. His words were sharp and unyielding. South Africa is confiscating land and treating certain classes of people very badly. It is a bad situation that the radical left media doesn't want to so much as mention. A massive human rights violation at a minimum is happening for all to see. The United States won't stand for it. We will act. Also, I will be cutting off all future funding to South Africa until a full investigation of this situation has been completed, Trump said.
Will you plan to cut aid across other African nations, and why South Africa?
No, it's only South Africa. Terrible things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things. It's horrible things. But that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
The decision has sparked outrage and concern, not just for its immediate financial implications, but for the broader geopolitical message it sends. Critics argue that Trump's move is less about human rights and more about punishing South Africa for its alignment with global powers that challenge US dominance. For instance, the BRICS factor. South Africa's membership in the BRICS alliance, comprising Brazil, Russia, India, China, and now expanded to include nations like Iran and Ethiopia, has long been a thorn in Washington's side.
BRICS nations, Your Excellencies, leaders of global and regional institutions.
The bloc's push to create a new currency to rival the US dollar has been viewed as a direct threat to American economic hegemony. Trump's recent threats against BRICS members have been unequivocal. On Truth Social, he declared, "The idea that the BRICS countries are trying to move away from the dollar while we stand by and watch is over. They can go find another sucker nation. There is no chance that BRICS will replace the US dollar in international trade or anywhere else, and any country that tries should say hello to tariffs and goodbye to America," Trump said. South Africa, as the smallest economy in the bloc, is seen as a vulnerable target. Analysts suggest that Trump's funding freeze is a calculated move to weaken South Africa's position within BRICS and sending a warning to other member states.
President Trump, as a leader of an important country like the United States, it is important for you not to disrespect or show any disrespect to any country in the world.
The Israel-Palestine divide.
The world has borne witness to the devastating killing of thousands of innocent people in Gaza.
You see, South Africa's vocal support for Palestine has further strained its relationship with the US. The country's condemnation of Israel's actions in Gaza and its legal campaign at the International Criminal Court (ICC) accusing Israel of war crimes have drawn ire from Washington. Trump's close ties with Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are no secret. During his first term, Trump made history by recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital and cutting aid to Palestinian refugees. His administration's unwavering support for Israel has made South Africa's pro-Palestinian stance a diplomatic liability.
President Trump, as a leader of an important country like the United States, it is important for you not to disrespect or show any disrespect to any country in the world. We want the United States to engage with the world, with other countries, with due regard, with respect, particularly Africa. Africa is the origins of humanity, and you must therefore respect your origins. President Trump's origins and his roots are in Africa.
Many believe that Trump's funding freeze is a punitive measure aimed at silencing South Africa's criticism of Israel. By targeting the country's economy, the US is sending a clear message: fall in line or face the consequences. The cessation of US aid could have a devastating consequences for South Africa, particularly in the health sector. President's emergency plan for AIDS relief, MPESA, a US-funded initiative, has been a lifeline for millions of South Africans living with HIV and AIDS. The loss of nearly $900 million in expected funding could disrupt antiretroviral treatments, risking a resurgence of the epidemic. Additionally, the US had pledged a $1 billion to support South Africa's transition from coal to renewable energy. With this funding now in jeopardy, the country's efforts to combat climate change and create sustainable jobs could be derailed. For South Africa, this isn't just about a Trump tantrum. It is a fresh diplomatic headache layered onto an already turbulent international landscape.
This evening,
The timing couldn't be worse. Domestically, President Cyril Ramaphosa is juggling an economy that's about as stable as load-shedding schedules, while internationally, Pretoria's recent foreign policy decisions, including its causing up to BRICS allies, haven't exactly earned its favors in Washington. Meanwhile, Rwanda's Paul Kagame isn't making life any easier. The simmering tensions between South Africa and Rwanda have escalated to the point where military threats are now being exchanged like WhatsApp voice notes.
And South Africa dares even issue threats about what is likely to happen after that, and so on and so forth.
Kagame, never want to back down from a geopolitical skirmish, has positioned his country as a rising power in Africa. And his standoff with South Africa is yet another front in his growing ambitions.
About our G20 president.
So what does this all mean for the average South African? Well, on one hand, global superpowers seem to be lining up for a political tug of war over the nation's policies. On the other side, it is just another day of dodging diplomatic fire while dealing with power outages, economic uncertainty, and political infighting. But one thing is certain right here: South Africa may be many things, but boring isn't one of them.